Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Adventures in Advising. Hope your advising adventures are going well. With me, as always, is our co-host, Matt Markin. Matt, how are things today?
Things are going very well. Orientation is over, or at least in-person orientations at the time of this recording. So things are a little bit smooth, but I'm very excited for our guest today. And I guess we can also say this is another example of connections through social media. This is someone who has been listening to the podcast fairly recently and actually posted a comment on one of the YouTube videos that for one of the interviews with Dan Winnicke. And that's kind of how this connection started.
Yeah, we love it hearing from our listeners. Wherever you're finding us, it's so nice to get comments and engagement, not just because of the way those algorithms and platforms might then sort of boost the message or find new audiences, but we're people and we like connecting with people. And it's such a joy when we have folks who not only engage with the podcast and hear each other's stories, but maybe share their own as well. So if you're listening, we'd love to hear from you. Any part of this experience through the Adventures in Advising podcast or some of the newer endeavors in the podcast world for academic advising, we'd love to hear your thoughts and comments and the places that you're finding meaning and connection through the stories that you're hearing. So our guest today is Jaime Ortiz, and let's bring him in. Jaime, how are you today?
Hello, guys. How are you?
Doing great. I want to introduce Jaime to our audience. He earned his degree in English from Universidad Autónoma de Madrid. He also has a background in translation, and he received a Master's of Arts degree in English from St. Louis University. Jaime has worked in retail and customer service and also taught English before going into higher ed. He joined the SLU-Madrid staff in 2011 and has served as academic advisor and assistant dean. He is currently the director of academic advising, coordinating with other student support services and working closely with campus leadership on academic planning and student success and retention initiatives. In his free time, Jaime enjoys watching TV shows with his wife and taking long walks with his dog, Onyx. He loves board games and nerding out about fantasy, sci-fi, or the latest show he's binged. That's not the only reason we have him on, though. It's great to find birds of a feather, of course. But Jaime, welcome so much to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Really
so
yeah.
One of the things that we always ask, of course, we get to read your bio and hear that formal introduction to you, but we love to hear how we got here and what people's sort of origin stories are in higher education. So could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Well, my journey started when I was in college. I was completing my degree in English, and I happened to come across this posting on the wall where they were announcing this scholarship opportunity to join a master's program with a partner university that was St. Louis University. And well, I applied and was accepted into the program. And it was a dual degree program where you got to take classes at the St. Louis University Madrid campus with SLU faculty and also with my actual institution at the time, the Autónoma of Madrid. And it included a summer experience at the St. Louis campus in the States. So it was an amazing experience for me. And I was immediately drawn into, the environment, the campus life and the American education, firsthand. And that I had even considered, studying in the US before, but, two in one, and it was amazing. It was a great opportunity. I have to admit, I had not heard about our campus before. I came across that announcement, so it was exciting to find out about it, and here we are. Fast forward to today, and I'm still working here. So in 2011 is when I joined the advising staff. They were looking for a new advisor. They had a smaller program back then, and we had a single advisor working with all the small group of current students, permanent students, and the visiting students. So things were growing, and they saw the need to incorporate, someone else to help with the growing master's programs and to help with the advising of students. And also they needed someone for administrative support. So I immediately applied. I had recently finished my master's. I had been working for a year in retail, as you mentioned, interpreting for international customers and things like that in retail. And yeah, I jumped at the opportunity and to go back to campus and actually be part of the staff, and it was great. And that's where the advising system started growing from just a single administrative support person helping the academic dean to actually having, a couple of people actually doing advising. And back then, we're probably around 400 students, I would say. And so we were helping study abroad students, and we divided the caseload between my other colleague who was taking care of new incoming freshmen and all sophomores, and I took on juniors and seniors and helped with the master's programs. So it was nice. It started fine, and then things started growing with the years. And after that, this colleague left after 6 months or so. So I was there by myself without much training yet, still fresh and green. And yeah, it was quite the trip at the time. So working closely with the academic dean, and we eventually were able to incorporate a new advisor a few months after that. And yeah, that was a former student and an alumna from the campus from Bulgaria, who was great, and we worked together for 10 years. I can't believe it was 10 years. And then she eventually got an opportunity to go back to her home country. And that's where things gave a twist, and things really changed. And that was when we were able to start building, the thing that we really wanted for student advising. So we sat down and say, hey, maybe now is the time. Numbers keep growing and growing. We're popular in the region, and we need more support for our students. Let's create a proper advising department. And we decided that I would help incorporate a new person to the department. Then by the end of that year, after training the new person, we brought in another advisor that will help us with all the study abroad population that was still big at the time. So by that time, we were around the 1,000 students, and that was right after COVID. COVID, of course, we took a hit and just lost our study abroad population. But so after that, we were a team of 3. I was the director, and we started building that structure. And we still were working in survival mode. We had been for quite a few years already, but creating those new structures and that network wasn't as easy as I thought it would be at the beginning. I had great ideas, but as of today, we just incorporated a new advisor, and that's a team of 4 plus me. I'm still doing advising, which I love. I'm fine with that. I'm quite overloaded, but I really love. But we're now in a position where we're able to provide full advising for the 4 years and focus on specialization for specific schools from the university for a more cohesive structure, but also to help with communication with academic departments and streamline better all those things. Really excited. We keep growing and coming up with new things as we find more time to do it now that we have more help. And I have to say, I've been very lucky to have the support of my supervisors. So I've been wearing many hats during that time, helping with academic planning, accreditation, supporting other departments. There's something extra to being an American campus at an international location, which also includes, having to go through national accreditations or local accreditations, and those, those things are also additional challenges to being, far from the US.
Jaime wears a lot of hats in this role, but it's nice to kind of hear the journey of even how your academic advising has expanded at your institution. And I think this could be a great segue to kind of give listeners kind of like what the environment's like. So for those that may not know much about your campus, how would you describe the SLU-Madrid campus?
Well, SLU-Madrid is, it's an urban campus. It started, and I think I mentioned this to you guys last time we spoke. It has an interesting history. It started as any other study abroad program back in the late 60s. And it was in collaboration with local public universities, bringing US students for study abroad experiences for a semester, offering a few classes. It's, of course, as any other program, it started small. And then as time passed by in the 70s, especially in the 80s, it kept growing, and it was decided that, buildings will be bought for a more stable location. And I think in the early 90s, the school was purchased and turned into the first few buildings that we right now have. We still keep them. And so that started with a single building, then a second building, and right now we're opening our fifth building. So we've expanded, never enough, but it's nice to have been part of that. Have witnessed that growth from a small campus to a more robust. Even if urban, but all buildings are very well connected, very close by. Close to each other, and it does create that sense of more compact, but still at the same time well distributed campus, and we're always reorganizing the spaces to maximize the use of those. But we're really excited because as we grow, we get more labs and more student spaces, and we are able to provide better service. Again, back to the history of the campus, I have a couple of anecdotes maybe it will be fun to share. So I have this great aunt who apparently lived close to this area. I just found out about this like a month ago, okay? So she used to host students from the US back in the 70s. So it turns out that she probably hosted, she was providing housing to some students that were probably studying here on this campus. I had no clue, but then in a family conversation, they were making links to things, and then wait a minute, and then so that was funny to hear about. So that maybe I already had a connection there that I didn't know about from as far back as the 70s. So in I think 2010 or so, we opened our biggest building yet, which changed things a lot. We got an auditorium, a big cafeteria, dining spaces. That was a big change for us. So again, we keep expanding as best as the area allows, but our student numbers keep growing too. We're happy to see our permanent students growing as well, and in higher numbers than before. And it's now pretty balanced. We actually do probably have more permanent students now than study abroad. But we host, many study abroad students from different programs, many different universities in the US. We have big groups from Northeastern University, University of Delaware. We have students coming from Lafayette or St. Joseph's, or name it. We have many. And so it's great because it enriches the campus, people coming from all over the US. We have 60 to 70 nationalities sometimes on the same year. So you can imagine how diverse the campus is. It really feels within the limits of the buildings. It really feels like you're in a US campus. With the the added value of being in a city like Madrid and having everything close by. So students are really excited and attracted to this environment. We're also the gateway to the rest of Europe, so it's very attractive. poses challenges, as you might imagine, because the balance between giving good education and students wanting to travel a lot. So you have to handle that and deal with it. But yeah, we are proud to say that the quality of our classes are excellent faculty. They're great researchers, and yeah, the students have sometimes low expectations in terms of I'm going to a nice study abroad program in Spain, and then they see, ooh, okay, the, this is more than I expected, and sometimes they realize that they shouldn't be traveling that much.
Yeah, I think academic advisors often find real purpose and maybe value both personally but also in their institution because we're in between things. We're in between maybe the culture of the student and the institution. We're sort of at that crossroads of those cultures, and when you're in a confluence situation, whether it's by circumstance or some other cultural approach, there's some real unique insight that can be gathered and gained. And I'm kind of curious, your background, but also your campus, but also your role. It puts you at multiple crossroads. What has that been like for you, just personally, as you've grown in your role as an academic advisor, as an educator, as somebody at your institution, taking the perspective of so many different influences and attempting to forge your own path?
Well, but you definitely grow as you work on this role. You start from maybe missing parts and not having much awareness or of really important and relevant issues that are critical to our role. And then as you grow into it, you start getting that experience and identifying things more and more easily and anticipating students' needs. And we are fully aware that we are a Jesuit institution, and those values are really important for us, and we integrate them into what we do. And students choose us because of that too. And as for the role of academic advising, I always say I see this as a hub of communication between the different student support services. I tell the advisors I work with, the excellent team that I have, we communicate a lot, and we do realize that we are at the center of that hub where we connect students with the different resources that they need, and we have to really be in communication with everyone, all the stakeholders on campus. That we need to know everyone, know how to connect with them, and get the students what they need and the support that they need, and also really know the psychology of everyone, to find solutions, to help find solutions by by connecting in the right way, when everyone's busy, and there are times during the semester that it's really stressful, and everyone's has piles of papers on their desks, have multiple Zoom calls, and it's difficult to get hold of someone. But the benefit of having a small campus is you can walk in someone's office. This I love, because I you get to stand up, or you can always call everyone, but you can get to stand up, go down the hall, or take a little break, walk to the other building. Hey, you have a minute? I wanted to talk about this student. I want your advice on this. Or go to the counseling services and say, hey, I know you cannot disclose anything, but let's talk about student X, and how do you see this? We do have, a few years ago, we put together what we call the care team, which we we are seeing that it was a great idea. We love it because it's allowing us to serve students very well, especially when they are struggling or in a difficult spot. So this comprises the vice rector for academics, to whom I I report, and then the director of counseling, the director of student life, and myself. So we meet every week, once a week, and we go over all the student cases. There are big challenges or students who are struggling or important student issues that we need to address, to be updated on them, to be all on the same page about it, to monitor the progress and see if any action needs to be taken. So I coordinate with my advisors in the office to have a shared file of student issues where they can flag any situation to me, and I bring it to the care team, and then we review and try to help the student as best we can, or at least we follow up on their progress during the semester. So we found this to be very useful. This definitely helps us avoid having loose notes or randomly random conversations, or this centralizes that attention to those students who are struggling within a specific team that reviews every week. So that's been very helpful, I have to say.
No, definitely, I agree with you saying academic advising, and especially like your unit can kind of be that hub at your institution. Now, you have very student populations. So it's like you have like your permanent students, you have your study abroad student populations. How do you feel like you and your team kind of can still foster like a culture of advising that supports both populations?
Right. Well, we do have a dedicated advisor for study abroad students. This we decided a couple of years ago. I proposed this idea, and we thought it would be good for us to have an additional advisor that would focus on helping students studying abroad at our campus, but also partners that were sending us bigger groups to connect better with them, to have a person of reference for them to work with, and connect the different advising services at those institutions with ours. In the past, as I mentioned earlier, we were helping our permanent students and our visiting students. So they would randomly show up at the office. They say, "Oh, are you visiting? Sure, come on in. How can I help?" So at that time, we thought it was a good moment to try and have someone that would really focus on helping this specific population that was still, and it is still today is pretty big in our campus. So that has helped a lot. I mean, the advisor working with study abroad students is amazing, but the students really have more direction. They know they have someone they can go to, and that advisor can follow up on specific issues, connect with the home universities if necessary. It's given us structure in terms of knowing how to help students and where to direct them, as opposed to, again, randomly helping a student and not knowing much about them. The study abroad advisor on campus, he knows every single university that is sending us students. He's reviewed lists of students, knows immediately, can identify who it is and where he's coming from or she's coming from. So that's made a big difference, I have to say. Yeah. So that in terms of comparing permanent students and study abroad students, then of course other students coming from international locations as well, cultural differences. Again, as you grow in this role, you learn strategies to deal with the different, especially for international students. Me being for the U.S. an international student at the time, and being an international staff member, it's very interesting how we address those needs. And many of these students come from, they probably come from international schools and they've been exposed to a similar system oftentimes, but other times they come from their own educational system, it's confusing for them at the beginning, and you have to walk them through it. Sometimes they don't know what they're getting into. It's like, why do I have to take a theology course again? It's like, you've probably been explained this already, but this is the institution that you are at. These are our values. This is why. So you go over that, no? But yeah, it's interesting. You lend your strategies to make them feel comfortable. I think that's very important too. And I tell my colleagues all the time, if you learn a couple words in a few of those languages and you throw to them on their first meeting, they immediately feel like, you get me. Okay, that was nice. Thank you. So they appreciate it. Of course, when they ask, "Oh, do you speak my languages?" Not at all. I just know those words, but I'd love to learn more from you. So that opens new opportunities. And again, this is a two-way learning process. They learn from us, but we learn from them a lot about their cultures. About it's amazing. It's the best job ever.
I'm really curious about your own experiences, of course, as a student in the U.S. and returning home and that kind of stuff. Do you see any of the experiences you had as a student abroad and the context that you developed through those experiences really being valuable, not only in your working with those students, but with your team and sharing those perspectives? The value of your experience as a student informing your approach and practice as an advisor and administrator.
Well, it's definitely very, very important to have had that experience. Having been a student in my particular case from this same institution, it has given me, not only information about the institution itself before I arrived as a staff member, but also, provided me with a perspective and with a sense of what, a big institution like ours and a big campus like the one in St. Louis offers, as opposed to what this smaller size campus has to offer in contrast with its pros and cons. But it's definitely being exposed to the culture, to the resources, to to the way that things are organized, and to the accessibility to those resources. That's key, because you're not only aware of the structure of a university, but also culturally, what's important, how you can reach out to people, how where the challenges are, of course. And as an international student myself at the time, I totally empathize with our own international students, and we're very understanding of confusion and needing time to adjust. And I think that's what you learn the most, and how you can apply it, and being not only empathetic in the sense of okay, this is different for you. I have to be aware of that, and it's fine. Take your time. It's how it works. No problem. But also, when students struggle for many different reasons, but if this is one of them, you have to approach it from a compassionate and empathetic point of view, and help them get there and get to the finishing line. And oftentimes is the challenge is really big, and they don't realize until they're not exposed to it. So yeah, any prior experience that you've had yourself, definitely you can draw from that and say, hey, I remember when it's turning worse and worse when I use that. I started as the older cousin, and now I feel like I can be that. But yeah, it still works. It's sharing anecdotes and personal experiences. I think we can all agree that it's a great way, and we all do it to connect with our students.
I feel like it was like 5 or 6 years ago when I had a conversation with a student. I realized, yeah, I'm getting older for sure.
Yeah.
When the words that came out of my mouth and I couldn't take it back was, well, back in my day. And I was like, oh, yep, I'm at that age.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I
there.
just
Yeah,
I just lean into it now, and I'm like, I started advising in 2002, which makes me feel really old. I used to talk about how none of you were alive, and I'm like, I'm not going to make that weird.
yeah.
But
No, never do that.
Yeah.
the advantage that those years have are certainly worth it. But I remember when I used to think it wasn't that long ago, and then I was like, oh, I'm losing a decade in there. I'm not carrying the one.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Only this. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Oh no, go for it.
No, I was gonna say only this morning, just this morning. Someone from the admissions team asked me about a student. Hey, do you know anything about this student? He's reapplying. So what's the student's name? So it gives me the name, and I'm like, yeah, sounds very familiar. It was not that long ago. Let me check. I check 2020 or something like this, like 5 years ago, and it felt like last year. So, ooh, he's been away for 5 years. Okay, let's review. So yeah, it
Time
can be
flies,
even worse.
especially during the COVID years. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know if that was 5 years ago, 3 years
exactly.
ago, 15 years ago. Yeah, it all kind of mixes together.
Yeah. Anyone
Now,
you ask, there's a blank
yeah,
space there within that 1 year and a half or two. Yeah.
for sure. Now, it's exciting to hear, like, the growth of academic advising at your institution, and, the work that you've put in over the years. And I imagine many of those years might have been stressful because it was just, you were wearing so many hats. You still do. There's more structure now with it. You have more members of your team. Not that you have a crystal ball, but if you had a wish list, where do you see, your office and academic advising in general looking like in the next couple years?
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I probably would have said something more elaborate than what I'm gonna say now. 4 years ago, uh, but yeah, right now we're in a great place. I can't complain at all. I've gotten all the help that I've been asking for to in the near future build the most robust and helpful structure for our students. There's a lot to do. As I said, well, I had many things in mind that I wanted to do, and time didn't allow, or the workload. But we're getting there. We're putting together a success program for new incoming freshmen for this academic year to support those who struggle after their first semester, building a Canvas course for that. I have to really thank my colleagues from the St. Louis campus because they have something like that, and we're benefiting from the hard work that they put into it, and they're doing great things. And we communicate more and more. In the past, since we were not a proper unit. We were just again in survival mode, working closely with the academic dean and helping students as best we could, but we didn't have time to really connect in a meaningful way and get into the more formal structure of an academic unit. Now we are, and we're benefiting from the hard work from the home campus, and they're very helpful. So I can be more, thankful for their feedback and their support. And again, now in a couple of years, I'm not expecting to have more staff. So what we have right now, we'll have to make do. Let's see how the student enrollment progresses or not, but hopefully yes. These are difficult times, so well, we're lucky to keep things growing. And our admissions team has done an amazing job in the last 10 years. But they've doubled the enrollment, so it's amazing. So I would like to have, and we are in conversations to build, to expand our service, and look for opportunities for more data review, more student success initiatives. Retention data is key for us. We want to build that better. And then also, of course, we want to keep coming up with ways to communicate better with students, have more maybe events. We have a few ideas, and I think that will help a lot. Because, and I'm sure you and many other advisors will agree, communication with students is always a challenge, and there's no perfect formula for that. So we all struggle to get, to connect with a student that is, not responsive, and of course we use the different tools that we have at hand. We send, email communications. We have email campaigns. We come up with meetings for students on campus. They rarely show up. It's difficult to find the perfect time when in between classes. And student engagement, it's part of a role to find ways to engage, to have them more engaged with us, and with the different support services. And it's surprising, sometimes still surprises me, how, you talk to a student who's not doing well, and after all the orientation sessions first year, and after all the information that you send every semester to them, they still say things like, "Oh yeah, I didn't know we had counseling," or "Yeah, I've had ADHD forever." So we have disability services. Can I request accommodations? It's like, have a seat, let's talk. So it's, as much as you try, if you don't get the students engaged and comfortable, connecting with the services and with us in particular, it's hard. So it's always a challenge. So you have to find ways to make it work.
You mentioned interactions with your colleagues at the St. Louis campus here in the States, and I'm just mindful of the unique position that your campus in Madrid has, being an American institution in a Spanish setting and in a European setting. Can you share a little bit about what it's like in a professional networking and professional engagement or professional development sense, from your unique point of view?
Well, in terms of communication with our home campus in the States, of course, there's the time difference. So it has to be afternoon meetings for us, morning meetings for them, as you guys see. So that's one of the first challenges, the time zone. Of course, if you send questions or ask for, confirmation on something, or you have a difficult case that you need to check them on, you really have to rely on that time difference to work, and have to be patient to wait for a response a little later, urgent as it may be. And that applies to any other, unit and office here on this campus. And of course, you have to be understanding with the challenges that any campus has, ours in St. Louis, and they sometimes, as busy as we are, and they're not able to get to us in a timely manner. So you have to deal with that frustration, understanding that it goes both ways sometimes. But yeah, we do communicate, over all the means possible: Teams chats, Zoom calls, of course, email chains. I won't deny that it's sometimes a challenge, because we are far away, so they have their priorities for the day, and then, oh wait, yeah, sorry, I didn't get back to you about that. So, but again, totally understandable, but we have to learn to navigate those challenges, and maybe get yet another nudge to remind them, hey, what about this student asked about? But again, I totally get it. So I have to say, we have good communication with them, and they over the years, it has improved a lot. Because at the beginning, uh, it's a big campus in the States, so many of the units were not as aware of the Madrid campus as they are in the last 10 or maybe 15 years, before my time. it was probably more of a challenge. But in recent years, it has improved a lot. We were receiving a lot of support. So yeah, it comes with its challenges, but yeah, that's really something that you learn to navigate and be patient about. And it impacts, you know, that it sometimes impacts how you're dealing with a case if it for some reason it needs to be reviewed over there. For our own permanent students here in Madrid, completing full degree seeking students, we review any case here, but say there's a student from the other campus visiting, we have to check with their advisors and see if there's anything special that needs to be addressed on their end and things like that. So yeah, it might take a little longer than it should, but not much we can do about that, I guess.
A lot of different types of student situations that you have to work through. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as we wind down with this interview, you know, I know we were mentioning when we started recording that we kind of had this connection through social media because you had been listening to recently to some of the podcast episodes. So you originally posted a comment on our interview with Dan Winnicke about academic recovery. But also before we started recording, you were mentioning that you had listened to the episode with Lisa Rubin and Astrid Thomas. And I'm kind of jealous because you've already ordered the book that just came out. So the ethical issues in academic advising. I'm like, I'm still waiting on my copy here.
Yeah. No, I immediately ordered it through our library, and our librarians are amazing, and they got it for us, and it just arrived. So I was I was looking through it real quick, and I saw a couple case studies, and I'm like, yeah, I relate a lot. so yeah, those are good. So yeah, looking for, and again, you mentioned professional development, and that's something that I really want to work hard on to help, you know, the advisors and myself, you know, grow in our knowledge and being more engaged with the current literature that is out there and research and you know, having this kind of book published, it's really helpful because again, you realize, you know, how much, you know, we're all sharing similar challenges regardless of location, and it's great that the the professional, you know, side of the advising work, it's been recognized and growing as a profession, and it's able to, you know, to build a meaningful literature and which is helpful for everyone, and be more, you know, engaged with the advising community.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel we got to end on a personal note here. So Ryan was mentioning in your bio that you nerd out about fantasy and sci-fi and the latest shows that you've binged. So what's been the latest show or two that you've binged?
Okay. I don't always do fantasy and sci-fi, but those are my favorites for sure. I'm currently watching Foundation on Apple TV. It's, you know, it's really good. It's I'm really enjoying it. It's fun. It has great, you know, design, and it's really good. I recommend. And then of course, I can help but mention Andor. It's yeah, one of the top shows of the year for me. But Ryan, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm a Star Wars nerd too. So yeah, that was very good.
Yeah, if anyone out there is listening has not watched Andor,
What's wrong with you? Yeah.
Yeah, the Foundation. I read the Asimov books way before I think I had an appreciation for the value of adaptation. And I'm sure there are hardcore Asimov Foundation fans who have their quibbles with this adaptation, but if people appreciate a great performance, Lee Pace's performance, especially from one season to the next, is really, really fascinating in in there. And if we're making recommendations, if anyone hasn't checked out Murderbot on Apple TV, it's worth the time too.
Yeah, definitely on my list.
Now, the crazy thing about Andor and then even Rogue One was when Rogue One was in development, I was like, there's no need for this movie. And then the movie came out, and then it's probably one of my top 3 Star Wars movies
Absolutely,
of all time.
yeah.
And then when they were developing Andor for Disney Plus, it was like, they don't need to make this.
Yeah.
And then it became probably my top Disney Plus show still to this day.
No, for me, it's peak TV for sure. Yeah.
Jaime, this was a fun conversation. Learned a lot about what you do, your team. Just, again, hearing like the history and the growth of it. I mean, kudos to you for everything that you've put in, your team's put in. And even just talking about a little bit about sci-fi is always fun as well. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.